reason that I find this video so
the country has
well our ability to tell a story and really demonstrate that our commitment to our veterans is genuine. It's not about a number, and it is really about impacting the lives of our veteran employees as well as the military spouses. And the other thing that I really want to emphasize here is that our program is not just about veterans. We recognize that military spouses have just as big of an impact on our culture as well. So before I get into a few more comments, I'll just share a little bit about myself and my story. I served in the United States Army for 7 years as an infantryman. I was enlisted at 10th Mountain Division in Fort Drum, New York. And I was in the infantry for 4 years and then spent 3 years teaching soldiers at an Army Air Assault School, which is teaching soldiers nationally and internationally how to work around rotary-winged aircraft. A sense of family patriotism and eagerness to join the military is why I joined the Army in the first place. And when I exited the service, I found myself far more capable as a person than when I joined. In my opinion, this is the greatest benefit of serving in the military. It develops principles, ethics, and values that are great assets to the lives and industries that the veterans impact after they exit the service. When I exited the service in 2001, transition to the civilian life was quick and ambiguous, to say the least. Short of a resume class and a list of companies that were favorable towards veterans, there was very little out there that had support for veterans, and especially companies. They were pretty clueless in how to assess a veteran's skill sets. As luck would have it, a leader within Starbucks took a chance on a 27-year-old staff sergeant with no demonstrated retail management experience, and 14 years later, I'm proud to say that Starbucks Coffee Company has made a significant stride in addressing the veteran community and embracing everything that veterans have to offer our company. As you saw in the video, in November 2013, we made a groundbreaking commitment to hire 10,000 military veterans and military spouses. In less than 3 years, we've already hired over 6,000 veterans and military spouses throughout the country, which is more than half our goal. Today, approximately 1/3 of those are in California alone. Throughout this process, we've recognized that serving our veteran community is about much more than providing jobs. The company recognizes the value of the unique skills, experience, and knowledge that veterans and their veteran spouses have gained throughout their service to our country. Veterans are leaving an environment where they had a clear sense of purpose and work closely with others towards goals that were larger than themselves. And I'm proud to say that Starbucks provides that same environment. So our journey started with engaging our local leaders at all levels of our organization on the tremendous untapped capabilities of our veterans and our veteran families. As a socially conscious company, we understood the moral imperative of hiring our veterans and our military spouses, and we also recognized that with less than 1% of our country serving in the armed forces, there was a basic lack of understanding on the value that veterans brought to the table. As such, Starbucks took the time to prepare. We hired managers who had training and resources, many of them veterans, to help understand and engage our military talent pool. We created a dedicated military recruiting team that sources military candidates and focused on educating local leaders and recruiters. And the results have been a win-win. Veterans are finding professional development, personal growth, and career opportunities, and the company is retaining talent and maximizing our investment. We've been successful because we've allowed the program to evolve over time. So for example, with feedback from our partners, we've made a more streamlined process to allow military spouses to transfer when their significant other relocates. We've also opened up 80 hours of flexible leave to facilitate military reservists' obligations. And as you saw in the video, we've also allowed veterans to gift our college achievement program degree program to a qualified partner, spouse, or child. And the College Achievement Program is a fully funded remote bachelor's degree through Arizona State University with no obligation to the company after they graduate. In addition, Starbucks tries to use its scale to bridge the military-civilian divide at the local level. The company has dedicated various military family stores in communities throughout the country. and they're primarily operated by veterans and veteran spouses. And they work with organizations within the community to provide support for active partners or even non-partner or non-employee military families and veterans. Starbucks continues to work with partner organizations such as the USO, Blue Star Families, Hiring Our Heroes. And with these organizations, we give our partners resume counseling, interview skills, and family cohesion counseling. California is home to 6 military family stores, some of which are in your districts, and this represents 20% of our entire commitment to the military family store program. These are the Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton, Travis Air Force Base near Fairfield, Naval Base San Diego, Marine Corps Air Station Miramar, and later this year we'll also be dedicating Vandenberg Air Force Base and Commander Navy Installations Command Naval Base in Ventura County. The increasing presence of veterans has also been embraced within the company with the creation and growth of a company-wide affinity group, the Armed Forces Network, whose mission is to support our military partners, support transitioning veterans and military families, and create a veteran-friendly workplace. We accomplish this mission by focusing on veterans through the lens of community, development, and networking. And moving forward, our ambition is to continue to change what it means to support our troops. While being thanked for their service is appreciated, military members and their spouses want to be given the opportunity to demonstrate the incredible leadership, experience, and talent they bring to the workplace. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today. It's an honor as a veteran and a Starbucks partner to discuss the Starbucks Veteran Program, which is making a difference in the lives of our veterans and our military families, and also making a significant impact on the company itself. I've provided more in-depth testimony in writing to the committee, and I'm also happy to answer any questions of the committee members. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. We're going to move on now to Jason Noma, and also an Army veteran and U.S. Veterans Program Manager for Tesla Motors. Welcome.
Thank you. So that's awesome. I actually learned a little bit right there from Starbucks. So Ryan said some really awesome things, and I'd agree with all that. Our strategy at Tesla has been really to focus on strength and relevance. And what I did is I asked a couple of our leaders to do a little video to give an insight to veterans what it's like to work at Tesla. And that's actually the video we have queued up here. So I think we're just going to go and play that, right?
Great.
My name is Mark Lipscomb. I'm the Vice President of Human Resources at Tesla. And many, many years ago, I was in the United States Navy as a navigator and an engineering officer.
Two of the most senior leaders, myself and our VP of HR, are both military veterans, and we're committed to bringing in military veterans and making this a great place to work for vets.
While I was in the Marines, I had the feeling that I was actually making a difference and changing the world, and what I did mattered. And I've had other jobs since then, and I haven't really felt that same way. Working for Tesla, I really do feel like we're making a difference and we are changing the world.
Yeah, my typical day is wake up early before anyone else, get my coffee, and get to work. Like that, I love this, right? Like I wake up, I love this. So I can't get here early enough. I can't start early enough. You know, I have to take my kids to school, and I can only take them at 8:30. So that's what stops me from getting here sooner.
I think military veterans can fit into any job really at Tesla. I think we've had specific success with our supervisor and other leadership positions, but I don't think there's any role that a military veteran couldn't do at Tesla. I think they could do any role here. And I really mean that.
Military veterans come when they have a unique sense of mission. They've identified that with the military, and we have a very strong mission that we're after here. That's first of all. Second of all, work ethic. If you've been in the military, you know how to work hard. You know what it means to get up early and charge out of a difficult challenge or a difficult task. Third is most military folks are used to working in a high-paced environment that comes with a lot of stress, and being able to do that in the civilian world is equally as important.
In the military, like you wear your branch T-shirt. You know, I still wear my Marine Corps gear, and then I also wear my Tesla gear, right? Like it's kind of synonymous with like the pride.
I think motivation comes down to a few simple things, and I think one of the most important things that we have at Tesla is that we're doing meaningful work. That's what truly motivates people. It's not a paycheck every day. It's knowing that you're doing something that's making a huge difference in the world, and I think there's probably no other company in the world that has the amount of meaningful work that we do at Tesla.
So that's been our approach, is really to focus on the work and the mission, and because so much of what I've seen as a veteran myself that went through transition, and even still in the space, it's a lot of talk about benefits and entitlements, and there's nothing wrong with that necessarily. But I think really the way you're going to attract and engage people at a very high level is to appeal to what motivates them, and that's what we do at Tesla. So our mission is big, and it's something that is really attractive to people that have committed years of their life to the military because they want to be part of something larger than themselves. And so when we can offer that in the private sector, you don't have to surrender that once you take off the uniform. Then we get really incredible work, and I don't think that once they're part of our company that we have to treat them necessarily any differently, other than maybe provide a fabric of community so that people can connect with each other, as opposed to having the company dictate it. But we like to make an environment where folks can find each other. We have a cool T-shirt that vets wear. And if they choose to talk with other veterans about whatever issue they want to talk about, then that's great. They can do that on a real natural, organic level. And then the company itself, I think we focus on, like I said, strength, and we have some really cool. Like Veterans Day is a big day at Tesla. If you come to the factory, I think Major Raga was out there. It's awesome, and we share that with the whole company, and really work on getting away from the veteran brand as being something that's damaged or a charity. I think there's a lot of strength and relevance to the high-tech workforce that today's veterans bring, and so that's what I'm choosing to focus on with Tesla.
Thank you very much. I want to recognize Assemblymember Thurman and Mullen for joining us in the hearing today. Are there any questions or comments? Vice Chair of Veterans Committee, Devin Mathis. Assemblyman, please go ahead.
Jason, Ryan, what you guys are doing is phenomenal. Go Army. And I just hope that our government agency counterparts can take a page from what you guys are doing and apply that to reaching our veterans here in the state, and just really looking at the specific programs, the outreach, and how to make veterans feel welcome, because a lot of times they feel alienated, and we all went through it. So thank you.
Mr. Thurman. No, go ahead, Mr. Thurman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank all three chairs for convening this meeting, and thank you all for being here and for what you're contributing to our community on behalf of all the veterans who serve our community so well. It just strikes me hearing the presentation that any employer should be jumping at the opportunity to hire a veteran because of all the things that our military personnel get trained to do, whether it's in healthcare or as a firefighter or as an engineer. And I'm concerned that there must be barriers for the individual who's making the transition from military life to the job, and that it's not like people just waiting and saying, here, sign up, come work for us. But there are probably some barriers that get in the way of that transition, and I'm interested in knowing what can we do to help smooth out those barriers, make that transition easier. And I am curious about a particular sector where I keep hearing that we need so many people and we have so few, and that's in technology and around coding. I've heard such numbers thrown out that maybe 1 million people needed over the course of the next 10 years, and we're falling behind, in particular in this state. I'm just wondering, how do we help our veterans transition into the workforce and track the sectors where we know there's going to be opportunities to make sure that our veterans are celebrated and not treated like there's some stigma, as you were saying, but instead you've got your work ready and say, we would like to have you, it would be an honor for us to host you as an employee in our company. How do we do that, and what can we do here to make that more possible?
So I'm going to answer as a constituent more than an employee of Starbucks, because I took the opportunity to review, what California has to offer on their website. Right, I pretended I was a veteran for a day and not working and looking for work, and I think the difference that I see is that I saw a lot of barriers of sign this, fill this out, we'll get you help figuring this out, and I didn't see a lot of how you fit in. I didn't see a lot of how we celebrate our veteran community, and I didn't see a lot of pathways for growth. I mean, there was a lot of jobs. There's no doubt the jobs are there. And, you know, we're in an age where technology, specifically coders, are probably more in tune with multimedia and engaging with different devices and really accessing their information in different ways. And the first barrier that I saw was there was a lot there, and it felt like roadblocks. It didn't feel like, come in, this is how great we are, this is what we have to offer, and this is where we see you in 5 to 10 years.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I wanted, as I was listening to some of the other testimony, 2 additional things came to mind in terms of initiatives that the administration is working on globally for the workforce that I think is going to help everyone with finding the state as an employer of choice, and 2 specifically that I heard were needs potentially for veterans was that cultural competence piece. And one of the things that we're working on is defining in state government is defining the competencies needed for our workforce, leadership as well as all the staff. And we're working on setting up a model of competencies. And the idea of a cultural competency relative to effectively onboarding veterans is an intriguing one that I'm going to look into further. The other one that I think can be very helpful to veterans would be our onboarding initiative. We have a team, a statewide team, working on putting an onboarding model together for all employers so that when employees start, they know where to go, they know who to talk to, potentially assigning them a mentor, that kind of thing. So there are a number of initiatives like that. There's also a marketing initiative on how to market the state of California as an employer of choice. And we'll be looking, of course, at all of the underutilized classifications and putting ideas together on how to target those populations.
Yes, Mr. Rogow.
Just real quick, because I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention them, but there's some really great nonprofits that we work with, like Vets and Techs, U.S. Vets, Swords to Plowshares. Specifically, U.S. Vets Vets and Tech is an amazing IT opportunity where they actually provide free training for our service members. You mentioned the IT sector. They go through this course and come out of there with a certificate that leads to a real career and really amount of. You have to be smart. You have to have the aptitude. A lot of our veterans do, but you definitely have to have the aptitude to pass it. But once they do, they come out into a really good career that has a long-lasting impact on their lives. But our nonprofits are a huge part of what we do. Again, going back to that community-based organization, that sea of goodwill that we have to, kind of garner for our veterans and create opportunities.
No, thank you all. I appreciate your responses and your work. It just strikes me, we do some things historically we've done well. We create veterans preferences for small business owners who are veterans. We've got, I'm a member of the Labor Committee, so, let me represent for the Labor Committee. But we have a history in the state of giving preferences and incentives to employers who hire, people who live in priority areas or, certain workforce zones that have had economic challenges. And it just seems to me that there's also an opportunity to give incentives to employers who say, bring on a veteran who's coming home and wants to serve in the community. And I know I speak on behalf of members from all 3 of these committees that we want to do anything that we can to be supportive to our veterans. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate all of your input. Thank you for the visual, the videos of what you're doing in your companies. And we just want to encourage all our businesses in California to look at best practices and the models that you have there. And we know there are other companies doing that, but it's very encouraging to see. So please take that back home that we are really encouraged by both Tesla and Starbucks and the work they are doing. And thank you for all the networking and then the state work as well. Really appreciate your testimonies today. Thank you.
Great. So at this time, we're going to be moving forward with our fourth panel. This is our federal and state workforce strategies for veterans. We'd like to invite up Tim Rainey, Executive Director at California Workforce Development Board, Dennis Petrie, Deputy Director, Workforce Services Branch, Employment Development Department, Glenn Foreman, Deputy Chief, Division of Apprenticeship Standards, Department of Industrial Relations, and last but certainly not least, Mr. Stuart Knox, Executive Director, Employment Training Panel. Welcome all. We're happy to have you here. We are looking forward to your input. And when you're ready, we can commence with Mr. Rainey's presentation. Thank you. Mr. Rainey, when you're ready.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. I wanted to, again, Tim Rainey, Executive Director of the California Workforce Development Board. I wanted to talk very briefly in general, because I know you're tight on time, a little bit about some specific program work at the State Workforce Development Board in collaboration with our good partner, Employment Development Department. Then also a little bit about the broad policy framework detailed in our state strategic plan. So our job at the Workforce Development Board is to develop policy and guidance that maximize our state and local investments and that maximize employment outcomes for particularly people with barriers to employment, including veterans, individuals with disabilities, dislocated workers, low-income adults, at-risk youth, formerly incarcerated, and other populations. With the leadership of the Labor and Workforce Development Agency, we also work with as I said, our partner at the Employment Development Department to target limited federal discretionary funds, Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act funds that are held at the state level to do system building across the state of California. We've used those limited dollars on what we call the Workforce Accelerator Grant Fund. It's a competitive fund that we have put out for the last 2 years, and we're working on the third round of funding. So those dollars target those populations with barriers to employment, as I mentioned, including returning veterans, developing stronger linkages, for example, among veterans serving organizations, local workforce boards, community colleges, and other providers at the local level. So the idea is to incentivize greater collaboration and linkages among programs so that we get away from a single entity or agency trying to do soup to nuts for a particular population, but instead bring together multiple organizations that have capacity capacity in a specific area that can meet the broad range of needs of a returning veteran, for example. Mr. Petrie will talk about another discretionary program in more detail called VEAP, I hope. So I won't steal his thunder. We have a smaller pot of money from Prop 39 to do similar competitive grant work that is specifically to build pre-apprenticeship programs across the state of California that are connecting people directly to state-approved apprenticeship program approved by the Division of Apprenticeship Standards, and that also targets veterans, returning veterans in particular, at-risk youth and women. So as I said, we invest these in innovative local partnerships that can accelerate employment for populations with barriers. The grantees across the state get together on a regular basis. We have a number of these grantees in all of our grant programs, and they share best practices. They talk about what works and what doesn't work. Our intent is to take what works and elevate it, scale it up, and use what we understand and what we learn to change policy and practice at the state level, to the local level, and local programs. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we have a little bit of money at the state level. The system that provides employment services, education, and training is not necessarily directed from Sacramento. Instead, that is at the ground level through adult schools, colleges, local workforce investment boards, social services, community organizations, but also through private providers, for-profit and nonprofit. So this gets to our framework for the state strategic plan. We invest approximately $4 billion every year in workforce education employment services across the state. In Sacramento, this $4 billion plus dollars goes through 8 different state departments. and 30-odd programs, all with different strategies, performance requirements, service strategies, et cetera. So it's pretty siloed up before it even ever gets to the local level. And then we expect local programs, colleges, workforce boards, and others to try to unravel the silos that we sort of that we've embedded in the funding streams as they come out of Sacramento. The feds, by the way, do the same thing to us, so it's not just our fault. So we're not necessarily lacking in programs. We have lots of programs that are very good at serving individuals. What we lack is scale through integration of those programs at the local level. So one single program working alone, for example, can, for example, serving a returning veteran or serving the needs of a returning veteran will change a life, can change a life, and often does. But multiple programs at the local level that are integrated with the same service strategy, same goals, same vision, under the same vision, not only can change one life, but can change communities. And that's what the state strategic plan is focused on. So it's about creative realignment or creative alignment, new ways of putting existing resources, both state and local, to work in new ways to achieve greater scale and greater employment impacts. So we can't drive this all from Sacramento. California is far too complex. So our intent is that regional leadership, guided by the state strategic plan and the vision of the state strategic plan, coordinated by local workforce boards, those guys work to align currently fragmented programs at the local level within regionally defined vision and goals. So again, our aim with the state strategic plan is a broad framework, not a operations manual. What we expect and hope is that folks at the local level take on this opportunity to blend programs in a way that get those greater employment impacts. Our plan, the State Workforce Development Plan, is currently in draft form. It's going to be finalized in March. We're asking that all 14 regions across the state of California develop regional plans. Those will be due to the state in 2017, March 2017. So just one last point before I hand it off to my colleagues. The state strategic plan, the State Workforce Investment Board, of which Mr. Mullen is a member of, developed this document with a WIOA work group that included this Department of Education, the State Department of Education, the Division of Apprenticeship Standards, the Employment Training Panel, the Employment Development Department, the Chancellor's Office of the Community Colleges, Department of Rehab, and others. And I say that because it's probably the first time that we've had all of our state departments and agencies that administer workforce education employment services dollars, the first time they've gotten together on a common vision and common strategies and common goals for the state of California. So this is quite an accomplishment, I think. Thank you.